Valhalla is an award-winning water-based dark ride manufactured by Intamin, which returned after 3 years of reimagining at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Known for its super-soaking ability, it was a perfect ride for the rainy October day I rode it 3 times on. Now, it is time to review it. The ride has a new cleaned-up exterior with the rockwork being scrubbed and new planters added to give the area a fresh feel. Seeing the waterfalls working again on the show building was incredible, as not only had they been quiet for many years, but they were also a big budget eater, so hearing them roar was a relief that they had been considered in the refurb. The new station is stunning too, with the Valhalla logo framed in the middle of the longboat-esque building. The interior is pretty nice too, with some themed lighting, although I'm not a fan of the image panel on the exit wall. Overall, the sigil-clad station perfectly sets the tone for the ride, and I think it was a good choice to move away from the original station design, which had more colour. The queue never exceeded 10 minutes on my visit, though I'm sure that will not be the case in the summer, but this meant it was a scramble to put on our ponchos in time before our boat was ready. You will definitely need a poncho for this one, but do not fret, there is a small kiosk built into the queue line which sells adult and child-sized ponchos. Once you're buttoned into your bin bag, you will be greeted by a row of longboats awaiting a near constant stream of Vikings to board them to set off to Valhalla. The ride vehicles have had a huge upgrade too, with a new colour scheme which makes the longboats look more realistic instead of the bright brown colour which wasn't fooling anyone, but it was part of the 2000s charm of the original ride. You will also notice the large vacuum installed in the station, which will take away any excess water in the bottom of the boat. But don't worry, it will be refilled by the time you return to the station. It's a really great operation that keeps throughput high. Now you set off into the jaws of Valhalla, where hopefully your boat will have been balanced because I spent my first ride on a terrifying slant. Inside, it is dark, with lanterns lighting the cavern as the narration begins, and the Valhalla V shines through the void. You progress and are greeted by a Cerberus animatronic, who guards the entrance to the ancient underworld, a theming piece that remains from the original. Keeping this piece is part of the reason this revamp works so well. The classic elements that really stood out are retained, but areas that needed to be tweaked to provide a more interesting story have been updated. You move past some of the set pieces quite quickly, which is why it's a good idea to try and ride on either side of the boat. This is where you reunite with the classic noisy Valhalla lift hill, as you ascend towards a wooden circle with a face painted on it, which blows a circle of smoke. The next corner is surrounded by burning lanterns, and you can feel the water controlling the boat, which gives you the feeling of being in unknown open water. I think this ride does a great job of making you feel constantly uncomfortable, as even after 3 rides you always feel like you don't know what's coming next. In the old ride, a giant's head would appear in a cavern, however this cavity remains empty, with a small jump scare beside it, which I only notice when riding on the front row. The boat then enters the warm room, which is a lovely break from the coastal cold before you get absolutely drenched, and it serves as a mellow break to let the narration continue and be focused on. The story aspect of this ride, in my opinion, is an amazing choice. It adds atmosphere in the starting moments which would otherwise seem a bit bare, but it acts as context to the world you are about to be thrown into, rather than pushing you straight into Valhalla after a not so thrilling lift hill. You then pass by wooden walls which have fiery lighting streaking through, which is part of the Viking custom to burn a warrior's longboat with their body on it to give them access to the afterlife. You are then plunged into darkness. This is such a subtle theming detail, but it tells the story so well. The warmth of the flames being lit, the sight of the flames engulfing the boat, then nothing. Pleasure Beach really thought about the smaller details for this part of the ride, which I really appreciate as they're running a risk of it not being noticed. Once you pull up to the turntable, you are greeted by red eyes which illuminate to a face, and you spin to begin your slow roll off the edge of the drop. I must say these drops have some insane airtime no matter what row you sit on. With no lap bar you can get a good kick out of these pitch black plunges. This is a moderate soak for the front row, who then get a splash of a mini jump scare, once again adding to the element of suspense when you are thrown into Valhalla. A dark section provides narrated context about Freya being the last memory of these warriors, before the boat sails into the scene where she is stood beside a sinking longboat and many warriors are frozen in time at the sight of her. You then approach the next drop, which is a lovely wet one, but it more importantly sends you straight into the water tunnel, which gives you a nice sprinkle. I'm not bothered about the tunnel not being perfectly shaped. You already get full body soaked, so a little shower doesn't make much difference. Then, plumes of water explode beside the trough, and then an almost waterfall falls from above to give those lucky front row riders a surprise. After yet another lovely lift hill, you are taken to the forest. This scene is so exciting because not only is it a visually and physically thrilling section, but thinking of these wonderful set pieces looming in the dark show building is an impressive thought for a park not maintained by a large company. Large skeletons and trees decorate a deadly obstacle course where water is thrown over the trough to scare riders before two large mallets come crashing down, sending a large splash over guests. This was definitely best experienced on the middle row. It was a shocking but hilarious effect as I was wet through after the experience. One of the most memorable moments of the ride. Air cannons shoot at riders to show poison arrows whizzing by. Spike rollers narrowly miss the boat, and a crow swoops down before the boat turns into the darkness, where bells ring out and ghouls soar towards the ride vehicle. It definitely serves as a crescendo moment, where the theming gets more intense and things are happening everywhere at a greater pace, so guests are distracted for the main event, the double down drop. The boat tumbles down at speed into a hump, before doubling down into the bottom of the trough, where a pit of angry flames lie. Yes, you heard me right. The boat plummets straight into real flames, one so hot you can feel them as you descend. On the front row, this is crazy. You can't help but flinch, even though I had ridden it twice beforehand, and the smell of the fire as it is put out before your eyes is authentic. A skeleton stands in a burning building, but I didn't even notice it on my first ride, because the shock, amazement, and act of wiping your eyes of all the water you were doused with distracts you from the blaze beside you. You are sent through the burning ruins and into a large building with stone structures that have been destroyed, and out to the usual jump scare before returning to the station. By the end of the ride, you are absolutely drenched. I have seen people come onto the ride wearing blue t-shirts and grey joggers and leave with a fully black outfit. It is that wet. Certainly not one for those who aren't a fan of water, but I was willing to brave the 10-degree weather in my jeans washed courtesy of Valhalla. Genuinely, this ride is a 10 out of 10. It has that hook factor that keeps you thinking about it even after you've been on it. It makes you want to ride it with more people because the reactions are hilarious. It makes you want to ride a water ride in the winter. The theming and story isn't over the top, the narration keeps itself to context and so doesn't necessarily tell a story, but rather lets you go on your own adventure while you are told the mythos that has been passed down through generations, as if you were remembering what you have already known. The theming never feels scarce, though for some it may feel that way on the first ride, as I didn't hear the narration for the first minute of my ride as we tried to balance the boat. Although I think it perfectly encapsulates the haunting emptiness of Valhalla, but then the densely themed scenes that pop out from the darkness show how unpredictable it can be. I love every aspect of this ride. It was perfectly reimagined in my opinion, and I couldn't say if it beats the Curse at Alton Manor, because after riding they are in two completely different worlds, although the excitement is very real with Valhalla, and you are guaranteed a reaction from those drops every time. The main difference between these two media rivals is that The Curse has since received some theming updates from its opening nearly a year ago. However, I can't see Valhalla needing any tweaks at the moment, so take that as you will. They make sure the ride operates with all effects working, and those effects work really well for a thrilling experience, with water being a hard medium to work with, at a high throughput. It's a sleek reimagining where a significant amount of the original ride has been retained. The merch selection is nice too, featuring more Viking sigils in the design. It feels like a comfortable choice as it doesn't scream Rise merchandise. I picked up one of the pins which has a woven design. However, there is something for all collectors, such as clothing, medallions, pins, teddies, door signs, snow globes, pizza boards and cups. With an already expansive range of merchandise, you are sure to find something for your budget and taste, but more merch is being added like the bucket hat, framed keychains and plush keyrings. So Valhalla fans are really being treated to a vastly increased collection. Loki's bar has also reopened. However, as I did not enter it during my visit, I cannot say if the food and drink is fairly priced or any good, although the interior looks fabulous. Overall, if you haven't already treated yourself to a plunge into the dark Viking world, you definitely should, as Valhalla is an unforgettable attraction that adds to the already giddying selection at the Pleasure Beach. In my opinion, this really is a treat. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope to hear your thoughts on the ride. But of course, if you want to see more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye bye!